My nephew was very new in Kirkuk. He spent only 2 days in Kirkuk.
يعني نفس طريقة الضرب والتعذيب إلى غرفة التعذيب اعترفوا عن أمهم.
Nevertheless, he was beaten up, and they were all beaten up the same way I was beaten.
هل تعمل مع المقاومة؟
To confess about their mom, does she work with the resistance?
هل لديها أموال المقاومة؟
Does she finance the resistance?
أولادي بعد 35 يوم خرجوا. ابن أخي راح معي إلى أبو غريب وضعوه بالثقيلة إلى أن طلعنا.
My children were released 35 days later after they were arrested, but my nephew spent the same period I spent in the prison, and we were released together.
Thank you. I just have one additional point. The Commission, of course, wants to not doubt the truth that you are speaking, but we want to have as much hard evidence as possible, and for that reason, I would ask you, as I've asked others, whether there would be any witnesses that could corroborate what you have told us, for example, about the way you were treated in the black room.
اللجنة لا تشرف على الإطلاق في أنك تعرضت للاعتقال وأنك قاسيت كل ذلك، ولكن عندهم طلب أو سؤال: هل هناك أي شاهد آخر يثبت أنك قد تعرضت للاعتقال والإهانة؟
عندي مئات الشباب العراقيين كانوا معي يشهدون.
I have hundreds of witnesses who can witness that I was detained and tortured.
أصبحت قصة جميلة في السجن مشهورة.
My story was very well known in the prison.
نتيجة التعذيب التعسف اللي عانيت.
Because of the inhumane torture I endured.
هناك سجناء من السامرة، هناك سجناء من ديالى، هناك سجناء من الأنبار.
There were prisoners from Diyala, Anbar, Samarra.
هناك 900 سجين من الأعظمية.
And there were about 900 from Al-Adamiyya. And we all are witnesses for each other.
Mrs. Jamila Abbas Hamadi, we share your grief. I wanted to ask one technical question, but which I think is of substance. I noticed that in the second exhibit, J2, there is a statement by the International Committee of the Red Cross, Geneva, and you were arrested by coalition forces on the 13th of January 2004, but it was only 2 months later that the International Committee of the Red Cross registered and visited you in Abu Ghraib. I believe that the International Committee of the Red Cross has certain statutory obligations, and so do the occupation forces. Did you request to see members of the International Committee of the Red Cross upon your detention?
The ICRC visited me only once. We wrote our address, and they asked for a phone number or a contact for any of our relatives. But all of the prisoners were very afraid to write anything in the letters they asked them to write, because after all it will go to the American troops and will be kept in the record, in the American record. After we were released, we got the most important letter.
الرسالة اللي كتبناها بهذا التاريخ، مثل أنا كتبت 14/3/2004 بعد خروجي جت الرسالة.
And this letter was released only after I was released from prison. So we wrote it on the as early as the 13th of January, or 2 months after that. But the letter reached outside the prison only after we were released.
Was there any indication on your part that the prison officials and interrogators were encroaching upon the activities of the International Committee of the Red Cross under its obligations and under the Geneva Convention?
هل أحسستي بأي لحظة أنه قوات الاحتلال كانت تضيق على عمل اللجنة الدولية للصليب الأحمر أم لا؟
نعم.
Of course, yes.
الأخت من سويسرا.
A sister visited us from Switzerland.
حكت لنا معاناتها الطويلة حتى تقدر توصلنا مع القوات الأمريكية.
And told us how much she suffered until she managed to reach us.
وتألمت الوضعنا إحنا بدون ملابس بدون أحذية بدون.
She was very sad for our situation because we were without clothes or shoes or anything.
وحاولت بشتى الطرق أن تساعدنا وما قدرت.
She tried her best to help us, but she couldn't.
وأيضا مو بس الصليب الأحمر وإنما منظمة العفو الدولية ما أخذت دورها، حقوق الإنسان ما أخذ دورها في أبو
Not only the ICRC, other human rights groups also could not help us much because they were not, their activities were not facilitated by American troops.
Is it a correct statement to say that the International Committee of the Red Cross and other humanitarian organizations were prevented to fulfill their obligations under international law by prison officials?
هل من الصواب أن نقول أن منظمة الصليب الأحمر الدولية كانت ممنوعة من قوات الاحتلال أن تقوم بدورها الطبيعي في السجن؟
نعم.
Yes, definitely yes.
With regard to the interrogators, do you have any indication as to who was setting the pattern of interrogation and who was giving the orders? Were the orders coming from higher up?
بالنسبة للمحققين هل عندك أي فكرة كيف كان نظام التحقيق؟ من كان يدلي يعطي التوجيهات؟ هل كانت من فوق أم من فقط من المحققين؟ توجيهات التحقيق.
يعني احنا ما نعرف هي لأن أكو المخابرات وأكو الاستخبارات وأكو الشرطة الأمريكية.
We don't know because there were so many committees interrogating us. The intelligence, the American soldiers, and we can't recognize who was interrogating us.
Okay, thank you.
Could I then ask, you mentioned that an American committee came to interview you and acknowledged the fact that you are a war victim. Can you clarify a little bit about this American committee? Was it part of the Red Cross or was it part of the military?
هل من الممكن أن توضحي أكثر حول هذه اللجنة؟ هل كانت جزء من الصليب الأحمر ولا من الجيش؟
هذه اللجنة من القوات الأمريكية.
This committee was from the American troops.
كان الهدف يعني كنا مصممين أنا وزميلتي زميلتي قتل أخوها أثناء التعذيب وأنا كنت معذبة أن لا نترك هذه الفضيحة وهذه القضية بدون أن نثبت في ملفاتنا في أبو غريب كل ما فعلوه معنا.
I insisted, me and my friend who lost her brother during interrogation, he was tortured till death. I insisted, me and her, that we should record everything that happened with us in Abu Ghraib so that it's not missed out.
فكتبت 30 صفحة
I wrote 30 pages
في اللغة العربية
in Arabic
وترجمت إلى اللغة الإنجليزية
and it was translated into English
لأن هم بطبيعتهم الأمريكان يكذبون.
because Americans lie by nature.
عندما أخرج إلى الحياة وأتكلم الآن أنا في قاعة
Because after I am released, like now,